Chosen one. This moment is not random, and you are not listening by accident. Heaven has been watching the weight you've been carrying, the silent prayers you whispered when no one else knew the pressure you were under. What you've been calling a delay was never denial. It was review. And now the verdict has shifted. Chosen one, there is a divine approval being released over your life. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Scripture says, "The Lord is near to all who call on him in truth," and today your call has reached the throne. Heaven has examined your obedience, your endurance, your faith in seasons where relief seemed far away, and the answer has been signed in the unseen. Anointed one. This is not just about money. This is about restoration, stability, and peace returning to places that have been strained for too long. The word declares that God gives grace to the upright and supplies according to his riches in glory, and that supply is being activated in your direction. What was held back is being released. What was blocked is being cleared. So settle your spirit. Breathe. Let your heart come into alignment. Because chosen one, you are about to step into a moment where heaven confirms what earth could not deny. Your financial relief has been approved, and what follows will change how you walk from this day forward. Chosen one. There is a moment when pressure reaches its peak, not because you are about to break, but because heaven is about to intervene. I need you to hear this slowly and deeply. What you have been carrying in silence has not gone unnoticed. The nights you lay awake doing calculations in your head. The mornings you woke up already tired, already behind, already wondering how you would stretch what you had one more time. I know that place because I have been there. I remember seasons where faith was not poetic, it was practical. Faith was choosing not to panic when the numbers did not add up. Faith was showing up even when relief had not arrived yet. And in those seasons, it felt like heaven was quiet. But it was not absent. It was attentive. Chosen. One, heaven does not rush decisions, but when it moves with authority. What you are experiencing right now is not delay. It is approval reaching manifestation. There is a difference. Delay feels like waiting without answers. Approval feels like stillness before alignment. Scripture reminds us that there is an appointed time, and that appointed time does not speak early, but it does not arrive late either. You are standing in that narrow window where things begin to shift internally before they shift externally. That is why your spirit has felt restless. That is why old fears have been surfacing and then losing their grip. That is why you feel both exhausted and strangely hopeful at the same time. This is not confusion. This is transition. Anointed one, let me speak to you not as a distant voice, but as someone who has walked through financial uncertainty with prayer in one hand and responsibility in the other. There were times when I did everything right on paper and still came up short. Times when I asked God why obedience did not immediately translate into relief. And what I learned is this: heaven does not only provide provision, it provides positioning. Sometimes the pressure is not about punishment, it is about placement. God was not just preparing resources, He was preparing me to steward them without fear. Because sudden relief without inner alignment can undo a person, and heaven will not release what will harm you. Chosen one. This is where many people misunderstand divine timing. They assume that if relief has not come, they are being denied. But denial feels final. What you have felt has been refinement. Heaven has been watching how you respond when no one is applauding your faith, how you treat people when you are under financial strain, how you speak when anxiety tries to hijack your thoughts. These moments mattered. Not because God needed proof, but because alignment had to be complete. And now that alignment is locking into place. Anointed One, I sense this strongly. Heaven has approved your financial relief, not because you begged harder, but because you stayed anchored. You did not quit when it would have been easier to walk away. You did not compromise your values just to feel temporary comfort. You learned to pray differently. Not desperate prayers only asking for escape, but mature prayers asking for wisdom, structure, and sustainability. That shift in your prayer life was not accidental. It was evidence of growth, and growth is what qualifies a person for increase. There is something sacred about the moment when heaven steps in. It is rarely loud at first. It often begins with subtle changes. A conversation that opens a door you were not looking for. An idea that keeps returning to your mind with unusual clarity. A sense of peace that shows up before the money does. Do not dismiss those signs. That is how divine provision often announces itself. Before resources move, awareness shifts. Before money transfers, mindset aligns. Before relief manifests, fear loses authority. Chosen One, I want you to listen carefully to this part. Financial relief from heaven is not only about bills being paid. It is about dignity being restored. It is about waking up without that constant knot in your chest. It is about being able to plan again instead of just survive. And when heaven approves relief, it does not trickle in with shame. It arrives with confirmation. You will know it was God because it will come in a way that brings peace, not panic. It will not demand that you betray yourself to receive it. Anointed One, I remember the first time relief came after a long season of pressure. It was not dramatic. It was not instant riches, but it was stable, and stability felt supernatural. The constant mental noise quieted. I could think clearly again. I could hear God again. That is what heaven-backed relief does. It restores your ability to see beyond the emergency. And that is what is being released toward you now. Not chaos, not reckless abundance, but ordered provision. Chosen One, this is also a moment of surrender. Not the kind of surrender that gives up, but the kind that releases control. Heaven does not partner with anxiety. It partners with trust. That does not mean you stop taking responsibility. It means you stop carrying what was never meant to be carried alone. When Scripture speaks about casting burdens, it is not poetic language. It is an instruction for survival. And today you are being invited to lay down the weight of how it will happen and simply align with the fact that it will. Anointed One, your financial story is not ending in struggle. It is transitioning into stewardship. Heaven does not just rescue, it reassigns. What is coming to you is connected to purpose, not indulgence. That is why it took time. That is why you had to learn restraint, patience, and discipline before relief arrived. Because the blessing was never just for you. It is meant to flow through you without destroying you. And now that heaven has approved it, nothing that was meant to block it will succeed. Chosen One, let this settle in your spirit. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not being tested endlessly. You are being transitioned deliberately. Heaven has signed off on your relief, and the evidence will begin to show up in ways that feel almost quiet at first, but undeniable in effect. Stay present, stay grounded, stay obedient, because once heaven moves, it does not reverse its decision, and what has been approved above will manifest below. Take a breath. Let go of the urgency to force outcomes. This moment is sacred. Alignment has been completed. Relief is no longer a request, it is a release. Chosen One, there is a reason your spirit has been feeling unusually sensitive lately. Small things feel heavier, silence feels louder. And yet underneath it all there is a calm that does not make sense given what you've been facing. That calm is not denial, it is confirmation. It is the signal that heaven has already moved ahead of you. Long before relief shows up in your hands, it shows up in your atmosphere. And right now, your atmosphere is changing. Anointed One, let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Financial pressure has a way of shrinking your world if you let it. It trains your mind to think in days instead of decades, in emergencies instead of assignments. I remember a season where every decision I made was reactive. I was not dreaming, I was dodging, I was not building, I was surviving. And in that place even prayer can become transactional. You stop asking who you are becoming and only ask how to get through. But heaven does not rescue us just to put us back into survival mode. Heaven intervenes to restore perspective. Chosen One. What you are stepping into now is not just relief from pressure, but expansion of vision. That is why the fear you once felt is being exposed and dismantled. Fear cannot coexist with elevation. It can exist with survival, but not with stewardship. And stewardship is where you are being moved. You are not being lifted so you can escape responsibility. You are being lifted so you can carry it with clarity. This is why heaven waited until your character caught up with your prayers. Anointed One. There is a pattern in how divine relief unfolds. It often comes after you have reached the end of your own strategies. Not because God wanted you exhausted, but because independence had to give way to intimacy. There is a difference between asking God to bless your plans and asking Him to reorder them. I learned that relief came faster when I stopped insisting on how it should arrive. When I released the timeline, the channels multiplied. That is a word for you right now. Stop limiting heaven to the method you understand. Provision is not constrained by familiarity. Chosen One. You may have noticed that some old desires no longer excite you the way they used to. Things you once thought would make you feel secure now feel shallow. That is not loss. That is alignment. Heaven is pruning your appetite so you do not waste relief when it arrives, because relief without discernment becomes leakage. And leakage is often why people cycle back into pressure. God is not interested in temporary fixes. He is interested in sustainable flow. Anointed One, hear this clearly. Heaven-approved relief does not come with chaos attached to it. If something demands that you rush, compromise, or betray your peace, it is not the door you have been praying for. When heaven opens a door, it comes with confirmation, not confusion. It may stretch you, but it will not violate you. It may challenge your comfort, but it will not assault your conscience. The relief God sends carries His signature, and His signature always includes peace. Chosen One. There is also something deeply personal about this moment. I sense that many of you have been carrying shame around money. Not just lack, but shame. The feeling that you should be further along by now. The quiet comparison when you see others seemingly ahead. The internal questioning of your worth because of numbers on a screen. Let me say this as someone who had to unlearn it. Your value was never tied to your income, and heaven does not measure your faithfulness by your balance. Heaven measures it by your obedience under pressure. Anointed One, that shame has been interfering with your ability to receive, not because God was withholding, but because shame builds walls around the heart. Relief cannot land where guilt is guarding the gate. That is why this season has been exposing old narratives. Thoughts like, I should have known better, or it's too late for me, are being confronted now. They are not truth. They are residue from survival seasons. And survival seasons end when truth is allowed to speak louder than fear. Chosen One. I want you to notice how often the word approved has been resonating with you. Approval is not the same as permission. Permission still leaves room for uncertainty. Approval is final. Approval means the decision has already been made. What you are waiting to see is not a verdict, it is execution. Heaven has already agreed. Now the alignment of timing, people, and opportunity is catching up to that agreement. Anointed One, this is why patience is still required even after approval. Not passive patience, but attentive patience. The kind that stays awake, the kind that listens, the kind that prepares. When relief is approved, preparation becomes your responsibility, not frantic preparation, but faithful readiness. How you handle what you have now is shaping what you will receive next. This is not pressure, it is partnership. Chosen One. Think about this. If relief arrived instantly without any internal shift, it would shock your system. You would manage it with old habits. Heaven delays not to punish, but to protect. I have seen people receive what they prayed for, only to lose it, because their identity was still tied to lack. God is sparing you from that cycle. He is teaching you to see provision as a flow, not a miracle event. Miracles rescue, but flows sustain. Anointed One. I sense that many of you are about to experience relief through means that look ordinary on the surface. Not a dramatic announcement, but a steady opening. A role, a contract, an idea, a connection. Do not despise that form. God often hides his biggest answers in practical packages. The supernatural is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like consistency returning to your life, and consistency is one of the highest forms of blessing. Chosen One, there is also a relational shift happening alongside the financial one. Some people will no longer have access to you the way they used to. Not because you are becoming distant, but because your capacity is being protected. Financial relief often exposes relational imbalance. Those who benefited from your lack will struggle with your stability. This is not something to fear, it is something to discern. Elevation requires boundaries. Anointed One, I want you to stay present with this truth. Heaven is not just fixing a problem. Heaven is establishing a new normal. A normal where you are no longer living in reaction mode. A normal where decisions are made from clarity, not crisis. A normal where generosity flows without anxiety. That normal is being built right now, piece by piece, even if you cannot see the full structure yet. Chosen One, do not rush this moment. Let it work in you. Relief is coming, yes. But more importantly, readiness is being sealed. And when heaven releases something to a ready vessel, it does not come back void. Chosen One. There is a quiet authority that begins to rise in a person when they finally understand that heaven is not reacting to their situation, but orchestrating their future. This is the shift you are stepping into now. You are no longer praying from the posture of someone hoping to be rescued. You are aligning as someone being repositioned, and that distinction changes everything. Anointed One. I want to speak honestly for a moment. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn in seasons of lack was that God was not just trying to meet my needs. He was trying to change my relationship with provision itself. I had to confront how much of my peace was tied to outcomes instead of trust. How often my joy depended on numbers instead of direction. And until that was addressed, relief would have only patched the surface. Heaven was going deeper. That depth is what you are experiencing now. Chosen One, notice how your prayers have evolved. You are no longer only asking for money to arrive. You are asking for clarity, wisdom, restraint, and discernment. That evolution is not accidental. It is evidence that you are being prepared to carry provision without being controlled by it. there is a kind of relief that frees your hands but binds your heart. Heaven does not release that kind. The relief being approved for you is the kind that stabilizes your inner world first. Anointed One, there is also a dismantling happening. Old beliefs about scarcity are being challenged. Thoughts that told you there will never be enough, or this is as good as it gets, are losing their authority. These thoughts often come from long exposure to pressure, not from truth. Pressure can become a teacher if we let it, but it must eventually be dismissed. You are not meant to carry the mindset of survival into a season of supply. That would distort your perception of blessing. Chosen One, I want to share something personal. There was a time when relief finally came into my life, but I almost missed it because it did not look the way I expected. I was waiting for a dramatic reversal, and what I received was a gradual restoration. At first, I felt disappointed, but later I realized that gradual restoration taught me how to breathe again. It taught me how to rebuild trust with money, with time, and with myself. Heaven knew exactly what form of relief would heal me, not just help me. Anointed One, that is why comparison is so dangerous right now. Looking at how relief arrives for others can distort your gratitude for how it arrives for you. Your path is tailored. Your pressure was unique. Your assignment is specific. So your relief will match your design, not someone else's testimony. Stay focused on what is unfolding in your life, not what is being displayed in someone else's highlight. Chosen One, there is also an invitation here to forgive yourself. Many people carry regret about financial decisions they made when they did not know better. They replay old mistakes and quietly punish themselves even after God has already released grace. But self-condemnation blocks reception. Heaven cannot fully restore what you refuse to forgive. This is a moment to release the version of yourself that was doing the best they could with the awareness they had at the time. You are wiser now, and wisdom is part of your increase. Anointed One, heaven-backed relief also brings responsibility, not pressure, but stewardship. This is why you may feel a stronger pull towards structure, budgeting, planning, ordering your days. These impulses are not fear-driven. They are alignment-driven. Order creates room for flow. Chaos leaks provision. Heaven often begins to bless by teaching us how to protect what is coming. Pay attention to the areas where you are being nudged to bring order. Those nudges are protective, not restrictive. Chosen One, let me address something subtle but important. When relief is delayed, people often make inner vows without realizing it. Vows like, I will never depend on anyone again, or I have to control everything, or I will lose it. These vows may have helped you survive, but they cannot come with you into this next season. Heaven is asking you to release control, not responsibility. Control says, it's all on me. Responsibility says, I will steward what God provides. One isolates you, the other aligns you. Anointed One, you may also notice that your tolerance for environments of fear is decreasing. Conversations that revolve around panic, complaint, or limitation drain you more than they used to. This is not arrogance. It is sensitivity. Your spirit is being tuned to a higher frequency. Fear-based thinking interferes with that frequency. Protecting your mental environment is now part of your financial alignment. What you allow into your mind shapes what you allow into your life. Chosen One, heaven-approved relief often arrives alongside divine instruction, guidance that feels simple but precise, a sense to wait before making a move, a sense to move when logic says wait. This is not confusion. This is discernment being sharpened. Trust those impressions. You are not guessing anymore. You are being guided, and guidance is one of the greatest forms of provision. Anointed One, I want to emphasize this: relief does not mean the absence of effort. It means the absence of futile effort. You will still work, but it will feel different. You will still act, but it will be strategic. You will still sow, but with clarity instead of desperation. That shift in how effort feels is one of the clearest signs that heaven is involved. When God partners with your labor, it stops draining you and starts developing you. Chosen one. There is also a quiet joy returning to you. Not excitement, but steadiness. The kind of joy that is not dependent on immediate results. That joy is a signal that trust is taking root. Trust is not passive. It is active alignment with the belief that God is consistent. That belief is what allows provision to flow without obstruction. Anointed one, do not underestimate the power of consistency in this season. Small, faithful actions compound under divine blessing. You do not need a dramatic leap. You need sustained alignment. Heaven multiplies consistency faster than intensity. Stay steady, stay open, stay obedient in the small things. This is how relief becomes a foundation instead of a moment. Chosen one. Let this truth anchor you. Heaven has not only approved your relief, it has accounted for your future. What is coming is not meant to return you to where you were before the pressure. It is meant to establish you beyond it. You are not circling back. You are moving forward with awareness, with wisdom, and with peace. Remain present. Remain grounded. The work happening in you right now is as important as what will soon happen around you. Chosen one. There comes a stage in every divine transition where heaven begins to test not your faith, but your posture. This is that stage. Not to see if you still believe, but to see if you are willing to remain surrendered when things start to improve. It is often easier to trust God when everything is falling apart than when stability begins to return. Chaos forces dependence. Stability invites choice. And right now, you are being invited into a deeper kind of trust. Anointed one. I want to speak plainly here. When relief begins to approach, the temptation is to rush ahead mentally, to plan 10 steps forward, to rehearse outcomes, to reclaim control. I know that impulse well. After long seasons of uncertainty, your nervous system wants certainty quickly, but heaven moves differently. It restores in layers, and each layer requires presence, not projection. Stay here, stay attentive. Do not abandon the moment by racing ahead of it. Chosen one. There is something sacred about the slowness of this phase, not because God is delaying again, but because He is stabilizing you. Rapid shifts without internal grounding can feel intoxicating at first and overwhelming later. Heaven is sparing you that whiplash. This is why relief is approaching with wisdom attached to it. You are not just being lifted out of pressure, you are being taught how to remain lifted. Anointed one. You may notice that your discernment has become sharper, especially around decisions that involve money, time, and energy. Things that once felt urgent now feel unnecessary. Opportunities that look good on the surface no longer impress you if they lack alignment. That is not fear, that is maturity. Heaven is teaching you to recognize the difference between access and assignment. Not every open door is your door, and not every opportunity is provision. Chosen one, let me share a truth that changed how I handle seasons like this. Provision is not only about what comes in, it is also about what no longer drains you. Sometimes the greatest financial relief comes when God removes expenses you did not realize were costing you so much. Toxic patterns, misaligned relationships, constant emergencies created by lack of boundaries. As these begin to fall away, space opens up, and space is a form of wealth. Anointed One, you are also being invited to redefine what abundance means to you, not based on comparison, but on calling. For some, abundance is flexibility. For others, it is security. For others, it is impact. Heaven customizes provision to purpose. That is why copying someone else's definition of success will always leave you restless. Your relief is being shaped to support who you are becoming, not who you admire. Chosen One, pay attention to how your body responds in this season. Tension is releasing. Breathing is becoming easier. Sleep is slowly improving. These are not small things. They are signals that safety is returning to your system. Financial pressure is not just a numbers issue, it is a nervous system issue, and when heaven approves relief, it often begins by restoring your sense of safety before restoring your sense of surplus. Anointed One, I want to address a quiet fear that may still be lingering in you, the fear that relief will be temporary, that it will disappear as quickly as it arrives, that something will go wrong. That fear is understandable if you have lived in cycles of instability, but it does not belong in this season. The relief being released now is covenantal, not circumstantial. It is not built on luck or timing alone. It is built on alignment, and alignment is sustainable. Chosen One, covenantal relief carries different markers. It does not require you to hide it. It does not isolate you. It does not inflate your ego or shrink your empathy. It allows you to remain yourself, just less burdened. Watch for these markers. They will help you discern what is truly from God and what is merely an opportunity. Anointed One, you may also feel an increasing sense of responsibility toward others. A desire to help, to give, to support. This is not pressure, this is overflow beginning to form. But let me say this with care, generosity must be guided, not guilt-driven. You are not responsible for fixing everyone's situation. Heaven blesses distribution, not depletion. Learn to give from clarity, not compulsion. Chosen One, there is also a call to simplicity in this phase, to simplify your commitments, your inputs, your expectations. Complexity often grows in survival seasons because you are trying to manage too many variables at once. As relief approaches, simplicity returns, and simplicity strengthens stewardship. Do not resist the urge to simplify. It is making room for what will last. Anointed One. One of the most powerful shifts that happens in this stage is identity recalibration. You stop seeing yourself as the one who is always catching up and start seeing yourself as the one who is building steadily. This may sound subtle, but it is profound. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. Heaven is helping you update how you see yourself, so you do not sabotage what is coming. Chosen One, remain alert to moments of gratitude, not forced gratitude, but spontaneous gratitude. When you catch yourself feeling thankful for small things again, that is evidence that pressure is loosening its grip. Gratitude recalibrates the heart toward reception. It tells heaven that you recognize the shift even before it fully manifests. Anointed One. This is also a season to revisit your relationship with time. Scarcity makes time feel hostile. Relief restores time as a resource. You will begin to feel less rushed, less behind. This does not mean you do nothing. It means you move with intention rather than panic. That change in tempo is a sign that heaven is leading the rhythm now. Chosen One. I want you to hear this deeply. You are not being tested right now. You are being established. The testing season trained you to survive. This season is training you to remain. Remain grounded. Remain wise. Remain generous without fear. Remain faithful without striving. That kind of remaining is what turns relief into legacy. Anointed One, do not rush to tell everyone about what is shifting. Some things are meant to be protected until they are rooted. Let the work settle. Let the structure form. Let your confidence rebuild quietly. There is power in silent stability. Chosen One, you are not stepping into excess without purpose. You are stepping into sufficiency with direction. Heaven has approved your relief not to impress others, but to free you. And freedom, when stewarded well, becomes one of the greatest forms of wealth. Stay anchored, stay discerning, stay present. The foundation being laid now will support everything that rises next. Chosen One, as this season reaches its fullness, heaven begins to seal what it has released. Not with noise, not with spectacle, but with certainty. There is a deep knowing that settles into your spirit when something has truly shifted. You no longer feel like you are convincing yourself to believe. Belief feels natural again. Trust no longer feels like a stretch. That is how you know this is real. Heaven does not tease. When God moves, He establishes. Anointed One, there is a quiet strength forming in you now. Not the kind that comes from having everything figured out, but the kind that comes from knowing you are no longer alone in carrying the weight. I remember the first time I felt that shift. The problems were not all solved yet, but they no longer felt suffocating. The pressure had lost its power to dominate my thoughts. That was when I realized relief had already begun, even though the numbers had not fully changed yet. Peace arrived first, and peace was the proof. Chosen One, heaven often restores in reverse order. The world teaches us that money brings peace, but God often brings peace first, then provision. Because peace teaches you how to handle provision without fear. And fear is the fastest way to lose what you receive. That is why your heart has been stabilizing. That is why your reactions are slower, your response is more thoughtful. You are not becoming passive. You are becoming anchored. Anointed One, you are now entering a phase where obedience becomes lighter. Not because the standards have lowered, but because alignment has increased. What once felt difficult now feels obvious. What once required effort now flows. This is what happens when resistance leaves. You are no longer fighting the current. You are moving with it. And when you move with divine flow, effort produces fruit instead of exhaustion. Chosen One, there is also a recalibration happening around trust. Not just trust in God, but trust in yourself. Long seasons of lack can erode self-trust. You begin to doubt your judgment, your timing, your ability to choose well. Heaven is restoring that confidence carefully, not arrogance, but assurance. You are learning to listen to your inner guidance again without second-guessing everything. That restoration of self-trust is part of your relief. Anointed One, this is also a moment to acknowledge how far you have come. Not to dwell on the past, but to honor the resilience that carried you here. You survived seasons that could have hardened you, yet your heart remained open. You endured uncertainty without losing your integrity. That matters. Heaven values what you preserved, not just what you produced. And what you preserved will now protect what you receive. Chosen One, your relationship with money is changing. It is no longer a source of fear or obsession. It is becoming a tool again, a resource, a means, not a master. This is crucial, because provision that controls you is not provision, it is bondage. Heaven delivers you from bondage before it increases capacity. That is why relief feels liberating, not overwhelming. Anointed One, you may begin to notice that your prayers are quieter now, less frantic, less repetitive, more conversational. That is intimacy returning. When urgency leaves, relationship deepens. You are no longer knocking on a closed door. You are walking through an open one, and open doors invite conversation, not pleading. Chosen one. There is also a sense of responsibility settling in. Not pressure, but purpose. You are becoming aware that what flows to you is meant to move through you wisely, not recklessly, not impulsively, wisely. That wisdom is a gift. It is what turns relief into stability and stability into legacy. Pay attention to how you feel led to steward time, energy, and resources. These impressions are not random. They are instructions. Anointed one, let me say this gently but clearly. Not everyone will understand this version of you. Some people were comfortable with you when you were struggling because your struggle made them feel safe. Your stability may unsettle them. That is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for managing other people's discomfort with your growth. Remain kind, but remain firm. Boundaries are part of blessing. Chosen one. Heaven is also restoring your sense of future. For a long time, thinking too far ahead felt painful because the present was so demanding. Now imagination is returning without anxiety attached to it. You can think beyond next week. You can envision without fear. That is hope reawakening. And hope is a powerful magnet for provision. Not naive hope, but grounded expectation. Anointed one. There is a temptation at this stage to rush toward visibility, to announce what is happening, to seek validation. Resist that urge. What is being built in you is meant to be stable before it is seen. Visibility without foundation invites interference. Heaven often allows fruit to ripen in private so it can withstand exposure later. Trust the timing of revelation. Chosen one. Your relief is not fragile. It does not depend on perfect conditions. It does not require you to perform or impress. It is anchored in alignment. That alignment will continue to protect you as long as you remain attentive. Stay sensitive, stay humble, stay teachable. These are not restraints, they are safeguards. Anointed one. This is also a season to rest without guilt. Not to disengage from life, but to release the constant readiness for crisis. You do not need to brace yourself anymore. That reflex was useful before, but it is not needed now. Let your body learn safety again. Let your mind learn quiet again. Restoration happens when we allow ourselves to receive it. Chosen one. There will still be challenges ahead, but they will not define you the way they once did. They will be navigated, not endured. There is a difference. Endurance drains, navigation directs. You are being trained to navigate, not just survive. That is elevation. Anointed one, take a moment to notice how this message lands in you. Not emotionally, but spiritually. Does it feel steady? Does it feel grounding? That is how truth feels. Not dramatic, not intoxicating, but anchoring. What is being established in you now is meant to last. Chosen one. Heaven has approved your financial relief, yes. But more importantly, heaven has approved your transition. From pressure to peace, from survival to stewardship, from fear to clarity. That approval is not temporary, it is covenantal. And covenantal things do not reverse. Remain aligned, remain present, remain grateful. What has begun will continue, and what continues under divine guidance will not collapse. Chosen one, as this moment comes to rest, I want you to feel the stillness that follows divine confirmation. This is not an ending, this is a sealing. Heaven has spoken, and what has been approved above is already unfolding below. You are not waiting for permission anymore. You are standing in alignment. This is your Kairos moment, the exact time appointed for you. Anointed One, receive this with reverence. A supernatural transfer is already in motion. What has been delayed is now being released with precision. What was held back is now being redirected toward your hands with wisdom, peace, and purpose. You did not arrive here by effort alone. You were guided. You were preserved. You were prepared. Remain faithful. Stay aligned with the flow of the anointing. Do not rush ahead and do not look back. Walk forward with gratitude, knowing that what manifests next will confirm what heaven has already declared. Let your heart stay soft, your spirit stay attentive, and your steps stay ordered. I bless you now with clarity, stability, and divine provision. May peace guard your mind, wisdom guide your decisions, and favor surround you quietly but unmistakably. Chosen One, what begins in the spirit will not fail in the natural. If your spirit bears witness, rest here often. Stay connected, remain covered, and when you feel led, share where you're watching from your city, your place as a quiet testimony. Walk forward. Heaven is with you.